afternoon. Hi, I'm John Shafley, Chief Revenue Officer here at Fit. Now, 2020 was tough for sales teams. 2021 brings new challenges and is set to be another difficult year. We want to help, so we've joined forces with Flume Sales Training to provide a series of remote sales training sessions, the Sales Accelerator sessions, focusing on 4 crucial aspects of the sales process today. I'm joined today by Paul Cruz, lead trainer at Flume Sales Training, to discuss the current media sales environment and explore some of the common mistakes that salespeople are making right now. Then we discuss what great looks like in this most challenging of sales environments. Welcome, Paul.
Hello. Hi, John. How you doing?
I'm all right. A bit cold, I have to say. Not the warmest of days, but I'm all right.
Good.
Look, Paul, just a general question to kick off. It's quite a broad question, but how is the current environment impacting with salespeople?
Well, I think it's just incredibly hard. I've been in sales, as I know you have, for a long time, more than 20 years, I guess. And I don't think it's ever been as hard as it is now. And I think there are probably 3 things going on which are making it uniquely difficult. So I think there's, on the one hand, you've just got really horrible market conditions. Then you've got stuff that's going on with buyers. I think it's harder for buyers to buy. And then you've got the situation for salespeople. So I think if you look at those 3 things, on the market side, it's just really tough. Lots of media budgets have shrunk across lots of different verticals. Yeah. There's less money kind of flowing around, for one thing. I read a horrible thing just before.
Well, that's interesting. Sorry to interrupt, but is there less money, or are people just not spending it? Because I think I'm sort of getting a sense that people are starting to spend money again now. But certainly last year, everyone just shut the door.
Yeah,
I don't think it was less money. I just don't think anyone was spending.
There was loads of. I remember chatting to a sales director pal just recently, and he was just saying there was just so much anxiety and nervousness about spending. So if you're hearing that that's starting to open up again, then that's a great thing. And I have heard other people talk about that a bit.
Yeah, I think that was sort of people talking things up before we all got locked down again. So I don't know what the reality is. I've got no data to back that up. But it's just a sense that I was speaking to Julian Lloyd-Evans, who's a MD at Dennis last night, and just talking about what's happening with them. And, he was pretty upbeat. And, they were only 2% down last year, which is a pretty amazing achievement. But very, very difficult environment.
That's promising to hear. I read a thing, there's a bit of research by Contempso that I read recently, which said that the average number of opportunities, B2B, so not just within kind of our world, but B2B, was down by 74% since COVID began. So we've got the market thing. So that's really challenging. I think the other thing that we're hearing a lot about is what's going on buy side, and that's making sales more difficult. So things that we're seeing a lot is that what were relatively routine buying decisions are now more often having to get signed off at a more senior level. And if you're a buyer, that brings in a certain amount of anxiety and risk that you're having to take all of your decisions up to more senior stakeholders. Obviously, there's a huge pressure to be seen to be making good decisions, really strong ROI. All of that stuff's making life more difficult for buyers, and they're often becoming, really risk averse. So we spoke to, we've got like a steering group of buyers, and we spoke to those guys quite recently. And one of those buyers said for him right now, he's just keeping his head down. He doesn't want to do anything particularly new. He doesn't want to put his head above the parapet. And that makes life for salespeople quite hard because it's tough for buyers to buy.
Yeah, I remember the series that we ran with you in the autumn. And if you're watching this, do please go and look for that on the Fit website, which is fit.com. I remember your colleague Raoul was did a whole session on how to sell to buyers, which was very, very useful.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad it was useful. So yeah, check that out. And then I think the other thing, I don't think this is to be underestimated, is for people on the sales side, life's really hard for them. I was just trying to, we've spoken before, and I was trying to think back to when I was kind of full-time salesperson working in a big sales department, and sales is tough. There's loads of rejection, but one of the things that used to make it that bit easier is if you had a really bad call or a pitch went badly, you could turn to your colleague and have a moan about it. You both roll your eyes, and then you were kind of reinvigorated for the next one.
Yeah, and then you get back on with it. Yeah,
and you get back on with it, and that's not happening as much.
No, it's difficult, but I mean, we're all working from home, so I guess the only thing that we can sort of take solace in is we're all in the same boat, I suppose. So, what are the sort of I guess key mistakes that salespeople are making?
Yeah,
a bit of a broad question, but
yeah. Well, I guess before I talk about that bit, the one last thing to say, because it does tie in with that question, is that I think salespeople, one of the ways that they kind of get better is that they listen to the person next to them, and they hear the person next to them say something in a pitch that goes really well, or they hear them overcome an objection, and that kind of learning just by listening to people around you is obviously more difficult. So I think that links into the next thing. So I think the key mistakes that we're seeing is, and you would have heard Raoul talk about this before because this has really amplified it recently, is that salespeople are often looking at everything from their own perspective, and they're thinking, well, look, I'm just going to turn this around by doing more of what I used to do. So I'm going to be more calls, more emails, more meetings, and just more of the same thing, without recognizing that actually, because of the way that those buyers are behaving, just doing more of what worked, whether it did actually work or not, pre-COVID, isn't the right thing. And we're seeing, I think, too often sales leaders just thinking that the quantity of the work is going to be the way to get out of this really challenging period. And it's less about that. It's, in our opinion, and the research would suggest that this is right, that actually it's about improving the quality of the sales experience that people are delivering, which is going to be the way forward, not just more of the same stuff.
Yeah, I think so as well. I mean, we've had to pivot to virtual events. Obviously, I mean, we at FIT, we won the World Media Congress. We've got a new event which is direct to consumer coming up, and we have the Digital Innovators Summit, which is coming up in a few weeks' time. All of which are virtual. So we've had to pivot. And what we've found has been quite successful is that what you are allowed to do in the virtual world is you can offer quite a lot more in terms of a bundle. It's there. So the value proposition, I think, potentially goes up if you get it right. But that's about quality of that proposition, as you said. It's not about yes, you can bolt lots of things on, but it's about being able to communicate that message, and it's about the data play. So I think there's also lots of opportunities, but it's just about sort of working out what the client wants, really. I know that sounds basic, but it's just working out, what does the buyer want? What do they want to achieve? You're not just selling pages and stuff like that anymore. It's much more complex.
You're absolutely right, and I think if you change perspective and look at everything from the buyer's point of view, at some point that main point of contact is going to have to go back to their wider business, be quite brave, and say, this is what we should invest in. And actually, you've got to make that sales process for the client as easy as you can. And just throwing loads at it and talking about all of your features and audience size and all of that stuff, it doesn't make it easy for that person to go and get sign off for it internally. And I think that's a big challenge.
Yeah, I mean, people talk too much about themselves, right? And not
well, yeah, absolutely.
And buyers don't give a shit most of the time.
No, buyers don't really care about sellers; they care about themselves, as you say.
But if you had, I don't know, 2 or 3 tips, just sort of like very quick things that you would say to somebody. And that'd be very different depending on industry and whether it's print or digital or events or whatever. But what would you advise people?
I think the point that you just made, John, is key. So just start from the basis that, for whatever reason, that client that you haven't spoken to before, that prospect, they probably don't want to talk to you in the nicest possible way because of everything else that's going on. You're probably not top of their list. So actually, you've got to try and change perspective, put yourselves in their shoes and think, well, hang on a sec. If I was that person, why would I prioritize a conversation with me?
Yeah.
And would you prioritize a conversation on the basis that you're going to hear someone pitch or bang on about all their features and the rest of it? The answer to that is probably not. So there's a couple of things. Number one, change perspective and work out what's going to work for that person. what's going to really get them to prioritize speaking to you.
Yeah.
And all the research shows that's going to be about you bringing some value over and above talking about your own product or service. So what have you got, knowledge wise, connections wise, insight wise, that you can use to get this person to prioritize a conversation with you? So that's number one. I think the second thing to say is sort of linked to the last point, is just think about value at every single stage. So I saw someone, another a US based trainer recently, talking about time to value. So in other words, if you can demonstrate that you're going to deliver value for this person in their role as quickly as possible, they're much more likely to prioritize talking to you. So I think that's a key thing. And then the last bit, I guess, is just be aware that your job as a salesperson doesn't really stop when the person you're talking to becomes interested, right? Your job now in this environment is to make it easy for them to sell the idea on internally. So, this isn't particularly new research, but the decision-making group is about
It's not more difficult.
It's a lot more difficult.
And also, as well, when you're sending a proposal, it's got to have a call. I'm going to do this, but you need to go and do that. They've got to have calls to action.
Yeah.
And I had somebody else. It was a few months ago now that we had a webinar with, which was quite interesting. It's a really simple tip. He said, I never ever do half-hour or 1 hour Zoom calls.
Right.
They're either 20 minutes or 40. Just
right.
a little bit different. They can opt for the 20 minutes because that doesn't feel so bad.
Yeah.
Little tiny things, aren't they? Do you know what I mean? But
that's quite interesting. We've had a lot of salespeople say that one of the challenges is that it's much easier for a client to cancel a Zoom call like at the last minute than it is to cancel when they know you're coming across London to see them. So any little tips like that, I think are really important.
Yeah, but I also think there's a bit of a difference. Sometimes people don't like to say no, so they'll take a meeting in the old world, whereas nobody comes on a Zoom call unless they're interested.
No, okay,
so I would think anyway. I think people just don't waste their time. So if someone joins the Zoom call, I think you're a long way down the road.
Yeah.
Okay, well, do you want to tell us a little bit about the Accelerator course? The Accelerator course, by the way, starts on the 25th of February. All the details are on the FIP site, fip.com. You will see all that at the bottom. And if you go onto that, you can book and have a look through all the content, which is great. But if you just give us a quick summary, that'd be excellent. Yeah,
so we've got the Accelerator sessions. It consists of 4 sessions. They are 1 hour each. And what we've done is we've obviously listened to salespeople. We've thought about the challenges that are going on in the marketplace, and we've taken the kind of end-to-end sales process and we've broken it down into 4 chunks, and each one of those chunks covers one part of the sales process. So I've actually printed these out, so they're just out of shot here. So we've got the first one's all about building pipeline, so getting new opportunities in the top of the pipeline. Obviously hugely important, very difficult now for some of the things that we've been talking about. Then we get to running the sales conversation, so that's the engine room of the sales process, really, questioning, all of that kind of good stuff. After that, it's creating campaigns, which I'm from a kind of media background myself. That I think is really exciting. Campaigns are more complex than they've ever been before. So we provide salespeople there with a really strong approach to designing campaigns in a really compelling way. And then the last one is all around closing opportunities. And that takes in things like really strong proposal writing. You just mentioned that, John, and also how to make it easy for the customer that you're talking to sell this idea on internally. So there's 4 of them. I guess if I was to sing their praises a bit, I'd say that it's not about us just kind of talking at the audience. There's exercises in there, there's templates you can take away. It's all about action, really, and learners kind of getting better ROI out of them. So yeah, we're excited about doing them. Yeah, it's great. And you will see details at the bottom of the screen. So you'll see Paul's contact details, Flume's contact details and website, my contact details if you want to get in touch with me, and the FIT website. I really would recommend that you look at this. The last course was absolutely excellent and the feedback was superb. So that's the 25th of Feb. Really nice chatting to you. Thanks. Good chatting to you. And we'll speak soon. Thanks, John. See you. Bye.